However, I'm not alone in studio. Professor Gitile Naituli is joining us this morning. Very good to see you, Prof, after quite some time.
Good to be here.
I hope you're well.
Very well.
We also have Abdullah Alas, Policy Governance Analyst. Very good to see you as well. Abdullah, good to see you as well.
Morning, thanks.
In a moment, we'll also have Javas Bigambo, who will be joining us as well. But we'll begin with the papers. This morning, we'll have a deeper discussion on some of the issues that have been, making headlines in the country, specifically the issue of the demolitions we've seen in Mavoko, and there's a lot of political undertones that is also coming out from that particular matter, as well as some of the statements that have been made from the Azimio side. Of course, Raila Odinga hinting at endorsing Kalonzo Musyoka for 2027 and later retracting that statement through his press secretary. But we'll be having that conversation. Meanwhile, let's see what Daily Nation has captured here on the front page. UDA jitters over polls. Well, party elections. President Ruto has been forced to convene a crisis meeting to forestall emergence of factions in his United Democratic Alliance party ahead of the planned grassroots elections in December. Camps have started to form around the president and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua, with some leaders now pushing for the postponement of the exercise. Let's see. So this is captured on page 6 to 7 of the DN. Let's see what it says. And there you have it. Factions emerging in UDA ahead of the party elections. And of course, this is creating a bit of jitters within his own political party, that is UDA. And these camps that have already begun camping, these camps that began to form around President Ruto and his deputy, with some leaders pushing for the postponement. Yesterday, the deputy president chairing the UDA National Steering and Management Committee to discuss the level of preparedness for the elections, as well as a proposal to have the elections deferred. Another meeting to be chaired by President Ruto has been scheduled for November 2nd to make a final decision on whether to proceed with the planned party elections or postpone it to next year. What do you think is happening here, Abdullah?
Thank you very much, and good morning to the viewers. First of all, Kenyan political wrangles in terms of parties is not new. When it is one thing to look for power, it's another thing to maintain the discipline of a party. I'm sure there are people within the party who are trying to be close to the power. Others are jostling to, present themselves as the top guys who have the president or the deputy president ear. Within the party, Ruto might face what he was doing to Uhuru in last time, where the deputy president, remember, we had him say we will look for Ruto. Rather Uhuru Kenyatta. So a lot will come out as we go, but political parties before elections and after elections are different. Different regions are jostling for positions. There are contracts in government where people are positioning themselves to align to certain leadership in the political party to make sure their voices are heard. So it's not new in Kenya. It's one thing to have a party before elections, but now we have seen every 5 or 10 years, parties have been emerging. The collapse of UDA, rather URP to Jubilee, then later we had, NASA. So we have been having these kind of things coming, and UDA now, it's too early for them, because 1 year into after election, and then now you want to have grassroots parties. That's in preparation of 2027. You want to have leadership on the ground, you want to have leadership in the wards, you want to have leadership in the villages. They talked of bottom-up. I don't know how that is going to be structured, but I think by and large it's normal for parties to have wrangle, and this will continue because different regions will jostle for different parties. There are people within the party who might feel they have contributed more and they are not getting as such. So they will be coming, and it's in the human DNA to always have wrangles.
And at the center of all this thing is the party's Secretary General. If I can just get my director, Jackie, to play us that particular story where, we had the Deputy President, of course, chairing this particular meeting. But one of the biggest contentious issues is the candidature of the party Secretary General. The Daily Nation indicating that Ndindi Nyoro is going to run for the Secretary General post, and already Nyoro is perceived as a close ally to the President. And we're yet to get more details on that particular particular matter, because should he run, he would be facing off with Cleophas Malala as well, who's also very strong in that party. Let's have that, then we get to Prof.
There is a clear indication that trouble is looming within the United Democratic Alliance Party, UDA. A month after President William Ruto said this in Nyeri County,
uchaguzi ni Disemba na tunaanza pale kwa polling station, kwa sababu tunataka kuhakikisha ya kwamba chama ni institution ya governance.
It is now emerging that there is an equal push to have the grassroots elections in the party postponed. Undertones within the party indicate that some within the party feel that the elections have come too soon, while the proponents pushing for the elections, mostly within the president's corner, to go on as planned, argue that there will be no perfect time to hold the elections. Further, those pushing for the elections to be postponed, mostly from the deputy president's corner, are said to have fear that their lack of involvement in the party elections could lead them to missing out on key positions in the party. Some fearing a deja vu moment when the once mega Jubilee Party kicked out its big names during its party primaries. Another matter at hand that might further fuel a rift in the ruling party is the lucrative Secretary General's position. At the moment, Cleophas Malala is the occupant of the seat. However, undertones within the party suggest that Malala might have fallen out with the party's leadership, and Kiharo Member of Parliament Dede Nyoro is being fronted for the Secretary General's position. Nominated Senator Veronica Maina has also expressed interest in the seat. She was the founding Secretary General of the party. Already a petition has been launched before the United Democratic Alliance UDA Party Disputes and Resolutions Committee, seeking the removal of Cleophas Malala as the UDA Party's Secretary General over allegations of gross misconduct. In the petition, Kakamega Senator Bon Halwale has accused Malala of taking advantage of his position as the SG to exploit situations that would be beneficial to him to the detriment of other party members. A matter Malala has downplayed.
I share our WhatsApp group with Bon Halwale. I saw that thing on WhatsApp, but as a secretariat we've not received anything. So I am yet to receive that petition. Yeah, but as to when it comes to the secretariat, we shall adjudicate it using the mechanisms of the party. We are a democratic party. Everybody has a right.
Last week, a section of parliamentarians led by Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei came to defend Malala from attacks levied against him by Kimilili Member of Parliament Didmas Baraza, who had accused him of being a mole of the opposition.
If anybody has a problem with him, there are structures within the party that can be addressed. And in any case, the elections of the United Democratic Party are done in December. So anybody who has a divergent opinion, it is they can measure their popularity in them.
Malala further says that such a tug of war is expected for a vibrant party.
But a party without conflicts is not a party. A political party with conflicts, this is a sign of a vibrant party. So we are up to the task. We have all the mechanisms to ensure that we have an amicable way to sort out upcoming resolutions, and we are going to have so many conflicts ahead of the election and even after elections.
Today's visit by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua to the party's headquarters to hold a consultative meeting with the National Steering Committee to discuss the management of the party has been seen as a way to have him largely involved in the party elections. Brian Mushiri, NTV, Nairobi.
All right, Brian Mushiri with that report. Prof, so that has happened. That is something that is also simmering right now. We'll look at ODM on the other hand, but your thoughts on some of those issues, contentious issues coming out of that?
I don't know. I actually don't even think this is a conflict at all. Mm-hmm. Because, you see, the look Malala did Nyoro. If this economy continues the way it is, they can have as many secretary generals as they want from the Mount Kenya region. They will make it. So, if I were to advise the deputy president and people around him, they probably shouldn't be forming a party, not fighting in the UDA. Because my experience with Jubilee was that eventually it simply had to go separate ways, because in faith within that thinking. So that thinking, Wetangula is his party. So the only fellow who doesn't have a party is the deputy president. Now he can try to get it by getting Nyoro as Secretary General, but I don't know how that assists because they are still the boss of the party. This election will go the way the party leader wanted to go.
But you have Ndindi Nyoro, who's perceived to be more of a close ally to the president.
I would think, yes, it appears like it even appears that the president would like to groom him for something bigger than Secretary General, because also Ndindi Nyoro is quite brilliant. I've listened to his arguments. He is very clever. But what I'm saying is this is what is going to happen here in the next 4 years. Unless the UDA government is able to turn around the economy, neither Nyoro, Ndindi Nyoro, nor anybody in that party who will be re-elected in that party, in the Mount Kenya region, it won't work. And they will probably have a challenge also in Mbugusu land, because there are these two Kenyans who follow the economy. The economy drives how they vote.
So you're seeing the political interests that are also shaping how
They will have to follow the people. They will have to follow the population. The political interest must follow the voters.
Right.
So unless something miracle happens and we fix this economy, it won't matter which position you hold in UDA, in the Mbugusu land and in the Mount Kenya. These people, for some reason, they are driven by economic. They look at the economy, and if you notice, since multi-party, they have always voted on one side. Always. They're in government, they are there together. If they're in the opposition, then this stands not withstanding. I don't know how they communicate. So what I'm saying is I wouldn't pay too much attention to party positions if I'm from the Mount Kenya region or the Mbugusu land. I will look at how the government is performing. And then I'm interested in the party position, because I know that there is a future. But unless this economy is done, and Ndindi Nyoro can be Secretary General, it will be completely irrelevant in 2027.
Yes,
what I think, first of all, as the Prof has said, William Ruto is grooming Ndindi Nyoro. We don't know for what. Maybe after his tenure, maybe a deputy president, maybe a cabinet, maybe something. As Ndindi Nyoro is a young man, very ambitious, very wealthy. He does started business. And in politics, there is something that money cannot buy you, which is the ability to dare. When you have that attitude of daring, even those who are mentoring you will also be very cautious around you. I was on last Sunday, I was in Kiambu County visiting my former teacher of English, and I had discussions with people from Central. I mean, Merus, Kikuyu, Zembus, you know, people who are middle class, people who live in good houses, good plots, working for the government, some retired. Kenyans, today you've seen the Business Daily, there is food insecurity, which means the number of Kenyans who are going without food has doubled. This, it's okay to run the party, but the UDA was not elected to office to run a party. UDA was a party they used to run a country called Kenya that has 53 million. That is the 5th wealthiest in Africa, but has more than 22 million below poverty line, where the middle class are currently struggling, where almost we lost 1 billion because we decided to keep our cars at home. So these are the things this president should and the deputy president and everybody else, even members of parliament, they are there to serve people who elected them. They can do their party and everything, but we did not elect them to office to bring us the issues of UDA. They were elected to office to provide leadership so that we get out of the mess.
But it is essential to have a political structure that is formidable
it is,
to be able to run an administration as well, right?
But you see, if there were good delegation structures in terms of who does what, when, and how, then it doesn't have to involve the president or deputy president. But once it involves them, then it showcases their interest and who should be what and where.
All right.
And that still will bring a revolt in the counties, because we're going to see more revolts. And as he said, if the mountain is not at ease. That is a fact. Because we have had, and it's not only what they're saying, it's not also what they're saying, what other people are saying outside. This country, the president has gone to China, and people were saying, I was watching news and you know, videos yesterday, and people were saying, afadhali moyo angefufuka. That's, yes, that's how much huyu jamaa alitudanganya. That's from Rift Valley. You see, other regions, people are murmuring. Yes, personally, I think so far the president and Kenya Kwanza government have not done anything to showcase they're doing better, because this month again the prices have gone up for fuel. So as you're doing the party, it's okay to have structures, it's okay to have a grassroots election, yes.
All right.
But see, UDA having elections is not a policy or a fundamentals in economics to improve our lives.
All right.
That is just a structure within the political arena that's being built, yes. But now, August we were told that there will be a good bumper harvest. I mean, if you go to the supermarket, I don't think weather Ugali has gone down.
And we'll come back to that, Abdullahi. So let's wind up on this, right?
This line is misleading. I don't see why there should be problems with the UDA Party elections.
Really? Because if I look at the Standard, by the way, that is what is captured on the front page of the Standard as well.
Yeah, and
interestingly enough, deep split in Ruto's party, election questions, the ruling UDA leadership tussling over the date of elections, undercurrents of supremacy battles, pitting two sets of the president's allies, one agitating for postponement of the polls to a later date. You know, it means, you know, sort of if there is going to be an issue already within this particular party.
There may be an issue because of the money, the public money in the party. Some people wanted to take it now, but I don't think it's about the future. That's my position.
All right.
Because the future will look very different for UDA.
All right, let's move forward. Let's see what else was so we can wind up on the paper as well. Don't stay there for long. Just very quickly, at 74, Lamu's oldest beach operator still going strong. You can get that report. He's 52 years old. Ziwa Abdullah has been doing this job for 52 years, having joined the trade at 22. What job you want to find out? You can read that on the DN. Meanwhile, let me not skip this story because it's quite a huge one. Fake lawyer Mwenda denies identity theft and forgery charges. The man who has been captured and who has captured the attention of the nation after reports emerged that he has been impersonating an advocate of the High Court has been charged with making a false certificate for admission to practice law. Mwenda Njagi, who was charged before Milimani Law Court's Chief Magistrate Lucas Onyina yesterday, denied 6 counts of making false a document, uttering a false document, and identity theft. You can see all the counts that he's being charged with. And of course, the defense lawyers led by John Kamino and Dansan Omari have opposed the push by LSK President Eric Thury to participate in the proceedings as victims, arguing he will be a state witness and the headquarters of the legal body is a crime scene. Abdullahi.
You see,
what does this speak to? I mean, when you come to, you know, the issue of having a fake lawyer.
We had fake doctors before doing operations. Yes, who did the operation successfully. You can only be knowledgeable in different ways. I think, as Prof and I were discussing, offset this is an indictment to the training in Kenya School of Law and the 4 years of a degree. Maybe we just need 2 years of training and 1 year instead of 6 years, because I appeared. I did not train as a lawyer. I trained as a journalist, but I've appeared before a judge. The easy part of being a lawyer sometimes is that even though they call themselves the learned friends, I sometimes tell a guy, we the journalists write articles every day. You guys just refer to articles in the Constitution. Article this, article that, this, that. So it's easy to be a lawyer than being a journalist. But the eliteness, because of the money it comes with, and the people do not know. Because if it's added in GHC in primary, and then it's done in geography, at least the study of the Constitution, basic, it's going to equip many Kenyans with the ability not to require law, because some lawyers are very expensive, even though some of the drafting is a bit technical. But what does that say about this country? That we have people with fake certificates. Remember, we discussed here sometimes before election.
All right.
The 225,000 public service employees had fake certificates. So it's not new in this country where people have fake primary certificates.
So it's not the first time we're seeing
it is not,
this. So this is more like a sort of an innate thing. That's what you're saying?
It exposes the morality of a society
Okay.
where people will want to do shortcuts, because training as a lawyer takes 6-7 years,
Okay.
6 years. Training as a journalist takes, even though journalism is a bit different, because we had Philip Ocheng here who was doing good work, but you see how many people are gifted to do such things. But by and large, we have a law. So you can't impersonate people.
Okay.
You can't have fake certificates.
All right.
But now he has to defend himself on why he did what he did.
All right, Prof.
I think Mwenda is an example that you can be, is an example about being learned but not being educated. There's a difference between the two. Yes. Education is what remains after you forget what you have learned. So when these lawyers call each other learned friend, that's a very fitting description. This is an indictment on the training we are giving, because if it's true that you won those 26 cases, it means he defeated the lawyers we have trained.
I think that session has been debunked, but I'm not sure. We'll have to find out.
No, I said if it's true.
Right.
So what I would think here is we need actually to rethink how we license our professionals. In academics, not in law, and in academics, there are people we call lecturers of practice. These are people who are technically competent in an area, but they have never been into anybody's school. And we can allow them to teach, and they are awarding grade because they are competent in that area. So they are called lecturers of practice. Maybe it's the time we should have lawyers of practice, like Mutata. He's a lawyer of practice.
All right.
He didn't stand alone, but he has done it very well. He has won landmark cases. So I don't know.
I think the biggest issue is the proportion to have a certificate of admission to practice as an advocate of the High Court that has now led to this
I
whole
think
thing.
that he embraced the law.
All right.
And
so I think
he should have known better. Maybe he has a degree. But there's something also I want to say regarding Mwenda.
very quickly.
I think we have a lot of intelligent Kenyans who somehow fall through because they have no money to take a course. Because I think Mwenda, if he had went to law school, he could probably have made a very good lawyer. But it's very likely, if you now investigate his background, it's very likely he's one of those who couldn't have been in school, but he did manage because probably of financial issues. But up here, it doesn't look like a criminal.
it looks different, right? Let's move on from that. Nakuru's Onyancha, Africa's top teacher. It's all about education matters there. Meanwhile, simmering tension as well over Raila's support for Kalonzo's 2027 bid. I'm going to hold on to this story because it will be forming a bit of a conversation much deeper. Meanwhile, Atwoli seeks talks with the Ruto of a cost of living. That's COTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli there, seeking a meeting with President William Ruto to discuss the escalating cost of living. Atwoli wants negotiations with the head of state to explore possible solutions, including issues of salary increments to all Kenyan workers. And this is a call that's coming barely a month after he faced criticism from some leaders, among them Raila Odinga, who faulted him for what they termed as going to bed with the government. But he was speaking yesterday during the Industrial Global Union at the Sub-Saharan Africa Regional Committee meeting in Mombasa. And he says he did not want to take workers to the streets to demonstrate over the high cost of living, and that negotiations should be the way to, resolving this whole issue of the cost of living as well, gentlemen.
Yeah. Well, I think it's not news now. It's no longer news to talk about cost of living. It's a reality.
Right.
And when they increased the fuel cost, prices, they knew it's going to come with this kind of repercussions. They told us about 4 million fertilizers. Ugali is still not cheap in the supermarkets. Those of us who grew maize at least are happy to have taken their maize to the grinder and made their own ugali and, could not buy. But how many Kenyans have that opportunity to have it? So in that front, Kenya Kwanza has failed. I mean, they did opposite of everything they told us. Hawa watu wajui mambo ya fuel, hawa watu wajui mambo ya cost of living, hawajui mambo ya hustlers. That was just a deception to ascend to power, which they did. Now managing it is becoming a problem. And I think I heard people talking about extension of the railway to Uganda and DRC Congo. Now, that means you're going to borrow more money because you don't have money. Because you're already saying this is going to affect the revenue already. Because the investment you do in a country is going to bring you the returns. Now that you have increased prices, and yesterday we were told fuel, already we have lost 1 billion because people decided to keep their cars at home, which means people will also decide what to buy and what not to buy. And that's going to affect taxes. People have started, adjusting their budgets. People are no longer buying toys for their children. People are no longer buying clothes every month for their children. So people will adjust. That adjustment in anticipation of bad economy is going to affect, the tax base.
Okay.
And others will start also, even if you have few money, why do you need to keep to a bank? I mean, even withdrawals, a lot of, so this means the president needs to come back and talk about with his people on how to reduce the cost, even if it's bringing back the subsidy. It's okay. This is a government. It can pay some of these monies later. But if you tell us you're going to do another big project, another big project, these projects come with expenses.
All right.
And these expenses are going to be deducted. If we are told that every 1,600 is going to, pay in debt, and then 300 is going to salary, and 100 is going to pension, which means we have no money for development. And remember, the national government has remained with 85% of the national budget. What goes to the counties is barely 15%. And in 85%, instead of having 70% for salary, if you read the reports from Control of Budget, this regime, Kenya Kwanza, is using 85% to pay recurrent expenditure, which means there is less than how much?
Okay.
15% for the 85%. So they are struggling because their government is bloated. They keep employing people, they keep employing advisors, and that is going to affect the budget. Remember, when government plans for money, there is no money in government budget that lies somewhere functionless. Every item has a function.
Okay. So
when now you pay everything for salary and you have budget money for development, so that's a deficit, which means you have to borrow either locally, IMF,
So that's literally the state of the current affairs that we're facing right now on the economy and the issue of the economy. But yeah, you have Kotu Secretary General saying, Prof, that we won't go to the streets. We'd rather just have a sit down with the president to be able to see how we can even cushion workers in this country.
Well, he's right, except I don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that these people know exactly what needs to be done. The economy, to fix this economy, because once the economy is fixed, you also fix the workers. One, the approach he's using is good. Negotiation rather than confrontation always produces a win-win situation. But I think there's a government who knows all they have to do really to fix this economy is get a handle on the energy so that the Ghanaians can do things for themselves. Once the production cost goes down, then the next step is to control government expenditure. If you do those two, the workers will be fine because the economy will expand. You even collect more money. But as it is right now, like my colleague here is saying, is that they know what they must do, but they are not doing that. Right. So go to Atuoli and disappeared, basically. I think Raila was right. He was not representing the workers because the moment you go to bed with the government, you cease to be a workers' representative because the government is about power acquisition and you are competing for that piece. You want to donate more power to the workers because when the workers are compensated better, the government, you have a tussle. So when you go to bed with the government, you cannot be a representative of the workers. We know the history of the labor movement, whether it's solidarity in Poland or here, it is always a contestation. But now he is waking up. Maybe it won't be relevant, although I think sometimes, even us as Kenyans, we have issues. We need to avoid situations where some workers become furniture in the organization in which they work. Okay. We need to have new blood in these organizations. I think Atuoli has overstayed in this labor movement way too long, and I'm not sure whether it's any more useful to the labor movement, because when you stay that long, you tend to diminish in terms of your output to the people you represent.
Okay, thanks, Prof. Let's see what else we have. Let me just wind up on the paper because I know we have to take a break in a moment. But this is also what is captured here. Let's see, moving away from that. Regulator takes out fake medic from doctor's role. That is what we're discussing actually in terms of, we have fake professionals already in some of our areas. But this is a gentleman who has vowed to lodge a complaint with the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Boards for deregistering him for allegations of being fake. Meanwhile, DCI probes Mavoko land grab syndicate. We'll come back to this because this is what we're going to get into in a moment, and we've seen the sentiments coming out of that as well. Unique problems for special needs schools in CBC system. There's a lot of issues that are coming out from the education sector. This is among one of those issues as well. And you can get that story by David Mushungu there. Unions calling for a review of funding for public education as well, where you have these three unions that are calling for a review of the public funding for education in all levels as they propose an umbrella body to champion reforms in the education sector. They include the University's Academic Staff Union, that's WASU, the Kenya National Union of Teachers, NAT, and the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers as well, who say inadequate and delayed funding of public education has affected its quality and given rise to privatization and commercialization of education, one of the biggest issues actually facing this particular sector. Taifa Leo, this is what they have on the front page. Sababu ya Raila kumkana Kalonzo, je, ni ipi? Kiongozi wa Azimio Odinga alilazimika kukanusha alimuidhinisha Kalonzo Musyoka kugombea urais kufuatia mgogoro katika muungano kuhusu atakayepeperusha bendera yake mwaka 2027. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa pili. We'll get to that in a moment as well. Meanwhile, BD, NCBA, ABSA topple KCB in banks valuation race at the NSE, all right? And that's the NCBA Group and ABSA Bank Kenya, which have overtaken KCB in market valuation, I beg your pardon, as to the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Let me get that, the paper in the middle. All right, there you have it. Also on the ticker of the Business Daily, NHIF on the spot of a 1.4 billion upfront pay for ghost projects. I think we saw that report earlier on. Meanwhile, down here, Kenyans spend 16 hours daily on unproductive activities. So you can imagine, Kenyans are spending just 4.5 hours daily on economically productive activities on average, denying the country billions of shillings in lost man hours yearly. That's the Kenya Time News Report 2021 compiled from Kenya National Bureau of Statistics survey, which shows that the active labor force use another 16 hours of the day on non-productive activities, depriving many households of the opportunity to improve their financial health. The survey found that Kenyans spend, listen to this, 375 minutes every day, which works up to 4.5 hours daily, on income-generating activities, with males on average spending 352.6 minutes compared to women at 200.9 minutes. Now, this points to the economy struggles to create jobs in addition to the low-paying jobs as well. So what are really Kenyans doing within these hours, these 16 hours on unproductive activities? What is causing all this? We'll come back to that in a moment. Let's take a quick break. You're watching AM Live and TV. All right, welcome back to the program. You're watching AM Live as a converse around some of the issues that have been making headlines in the country this morning. I just want us to get into our conversation. Leaders allied to the Wiper Party are saying that even if Odinga's praises of Kalonzo are not to be construed as an endorsement, the use of such a profound description of Kalonzo by none other than Odinga is already a step into the 2027 presidential ticket. This even as it emerges that there are hushed conversations about a Kalonzo candidature and the ramifications it may have on the coalition. Let's hear that report by Ibrahim Karanja and then we'll get back.
With the past 72 hours seeing the endorsement and a subsequent recanting of a Kalonzo Musyoka presidential candidature by coalition leader and long-time ally Raila Odinga, the effects of the words uttered in Bondo is still felt and seen across the faces of coalition members. It is reported that moments before the statement by Dennis Onyango announcing an about turn by Raila Odinga, a section of Luo Nyanza leaders held an underground meeting pondering over their next move in the eventuality Raila Odinga is not on the ballot. Similarly, the statement may have caused some jitters amongst other coalition principals who may feel a direct endorsement of Kalonzo renders their presence in the coalition a waste of time. But Kitui Senator Enoch Wambua, who is amongst Kalonzo's right-hand men, says that whereas an endorsement or lack of it is not their current concern, Raila Odinga's words confirms of Kalonzo's readiness to the mantle.
Raila Amolo Odinga has made the work of the supporters of Kalonzo very easy. He has told the world who Kalonzo is. And if this is what Raila believes that Kalonzo is, and I believe that it is, then these are characters of a person fit for purpose to be president of the Republic of Kenya.
Whereas Wambua agrees that it is too early to name a candidate, he also refutes a statement by Odinga's press secretary Dennis Onyango that the candidate will be named a year or even months to the 2027 polls.
We are not going to be waiting until that last year or a few months into an election, because that's where we miss it all the time. We need to begin to prepare ourselves as a coalition in good time to capture the presidency of this country. Those of us in Wiper have clarity on that matter.
It now emerges that the attempts to recant the statement by Odinga are in a bid to save the coalition from an imminent fallout too early. Some ODM members of parliament who spoke in camera saying that Odinga's statement was the true position, whereas others, still from the same party, stating that they were only pampering Kalonzo as they pamper all other visitors to Luo Nyanza. Their Wiper counterparts, however, disagree with the latter's position.
These were things that were being said at a family setting.
Does that add the weight to it?
A lot of weight. A lot of weight. And if as a politician, I could say whatever I have to say out there, but in presence of my parents, my brothers, my sisters, my nieces, my nephews, I will be very measured what I say.
Dennis Onyango, I don't know him. I don't know who he is in Azimio. Yeah, because Azimio, we know ourselves.
It will be absurd, unfair, and very immature that such comments can be said that Baba really endorsed at this time.
The ongoing talks between Kenya Kwanza and Azimio through the National Dialogue Committee are also believed to be among the reasons for the recanting of the statement, with observers arguing that an announcement that Odinga is no longer in active politics may lead to the scuttling of the talks, especially by the Kenya Kwanza side. Ibrahim Karanja, NTV.
All right, let me begin with you, Abdullahi. So you know, perhaps perception of really what is happening, because some say that, you know, this could be Raila Odinga's true stance on really what is expected to happen, but also could it be a political misstep from his side?
Well, I think first of all, former Deputy Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka is a seasoned politician, and he knows that no one gives you power. No one tells you to run on his behalf. So if he wants to be the president of the Republic of Kenya, it should come from him. He can ask Raila Odinga to endorse him. He might be true. It's true that he may say that that is the true position, but I don't think. that in the presidency of this country, the endorsement is something good, but it should come from you first. He has to show leadership, he has to prepare, he has to start connecting leadership. Right now, he has to, if you wait for the last 1 year and there is a system in place that triggers, because incumbency comes with certain percentages of power. Remember Kenya, as democratic as it is, there are a lot of other parameters within elections, and in the world, or even in Kenya sometimes we say it doesn't matter who votes, what matters is who counts. From the experience we had with elections, there is this tendency within Kenyan mind that if somebody is controlling the system, then their likelihood of winning, which is sometimes not true. But if you look at the margin of the Raila and William Ruto, 250,000, 300,000 is not a lot of votes. 233,000 is not a lot of votes compared to the previous elections we had. So it was a very competitive election, and I'm sure at the back of Ruto's mind, he knows that if he has to win, he has to win with bigger margin. For him to do that, then he has to stabilize the country. And the problem with Kenya, as I've seen it even in the north, the people tend to complain for 4 years. Then I don't know what happens in the last 1 year of the election. We start producing songs, we start producing, poetry, different genres in English, and then from there of the community, a lot of money and helicopters will start flying. Then you hear the person who was complaining for 4 years about food insecurity or this or that telling you, what do we do? They are bringing money. So Kenyans have to choose a leader based on what they think they can offer. But as long as they are choosing leaders based on money, there are parts of this country where people take 100 shillings or 50 shillings. There are parts that give, then there are election brokers, whether it's the community level or the party level. So there are a lot of other parameters that involved, including big chunks of money. People were saying already, Kalonzo doesn't even have money. You see, I heard Sifuna talking about why should it be there, people to guard even the votes. You see, if there was a system that is very honest, and the problem is not only the leadership, it's the society. The society is stealing from the offices. People are stealing printing papers, people are stealing pens, people are stealing toilet papers. So sometimes we just blame the top because they take a lot of money. But the people who help them steal, like if somebody steals money from a bank is not where money you have the safe. So it's a chain of people that are involved. If it's about the parliamentarians taking fake allowances who did not go, then there are certain people who are facilitating. So as I said before, the problem we have is a societal problem, where for me to vote for you, I need you to give me money. Yet the purpose of a vote is for you to decide your voice, who should represent you based on the attributes they have displayed. But now that's not the case. Like in northern Kenya, if you don't have money, even if you come from a big family, you will have rough time because people will ask for money. You're told if you cannot even buy us tea, not the cup of tea, but tea in the pocket, maybe 1,000, 500. So Kalonzo Musyoka, if he wants to be, he's a very seasoned lawyer, he's a very experienced Kenyan. If he wants to be the president of this country, it should come from him.
But by the mere fact of having Raila Odinga, who has the political influence that he has in the country, to say this is the man that we are going to back, certainly would give him quite the impetus. Yes. It's like the Kibaki Tosha thing. If Raila says, I'm not disputing that he may support it, but I'm saying you need to stand for your feet first. Kibaki was a president who wanted to vie, yes. Then Kenyatta, rather Raila said Tosha. If he says Kalonzo Musyoka Tosha, that is going to have certain effect, yes. But now, do you think Ruto and his team will keep waiting for that to happen only so that they lose? Because Kibaki took his 10 years, Uhuru took his 10 years. Ruto was the only Kenyan who contested for the first time, and he was a deputy president and won the election. So deep down he knows that he's facing a very hostile, because the rating for UDA from 43, the latest from TISA was about 34. So it's going down. Why? This was a report that was done by TISA?
TISA, yes. I think sometime last month. So if you look at it, the perception is good. Even you talk to the border guys or the taxi guys, people are you know, are quite disappointed. Why? They overpromised. But whatever they said during the election and before election and what they did were quite different.
But what does this have to do with Kalonzo Musyoka coming up against President William Ruto?
It is going to have, if Kenyans are going to get so much disappointed with the current system, then he has a higher chance with Ruto, Raila saying, Kalonzo Tosha. That is, if Kenyans are going to learn lessons and not queue for 1,000 again. But if it's the normal Kenyans, we know they will take money. Okay. Then we start complaining. Then we take money. Then we start complaining. And the vicious cycle continues.
All right. Prof, I think you also mentioned something saying that despite retraction of statement, trying to set the record straight, this was what really deep down Raila Odinga meant.
I think so, because he was very passionate when he spoke. So I think he meant that. But also, I mean, when you look at Kalonzo, is an extremely sober person. I think the kind of person you may need after Uhuru's experience with Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, you may need a Kalonzo, because for me, Kalonzo is another Moi Kibaki, really. That soberness is possible for him to be advised and all that. Now, you see, in the last election, I had told the people that the tribe will not matter. Ruto dissolved the tribe. When he introduced the Asola dynamics, so we voted the same way we voted in 1963. For the first time, Kenyans voted without a tribe is the last election. Now, the next election, the money won't be relevant for the president. It won't be relevant because if this economy goes the way it is, people will simply get out to just remove William. Not, they won't bother about who is removing, meaning that Kalonzo, given his demeanor, he will have a very big chance. So, but then there's a warning here, and I like the Senator Enoch Wambua mentioned it. They need to start early. The problem with the other election is Uhuru Kenyatta continued denying that their relationship with Raila had anything to do with the election, and they did it, and when the last minute came, it was not enough for them to punch properly. So they need, if they want Kalonzo to be the Azimio candidate, he needs to declare, like he said, because power will never be given. So he needs to declare, he needs to start putting down networks already as an individual. He should not wait for endorsement. Let the endorsement follow his actions so that he is in the front, whether he has money or not. I think that should be completely irrelevant. I think Kenyans want us of a president. So retraction, the retraction I think has been explained here for what it is. I don't believe that the president would interfere with the negotiations, because I think he also wanted the negotiation to succeed. He wanted those negotiations to succeed there because he needs stability. Without the stability, he can't run a proper government. So I don't believe that is the reason. I think the problem is there are people in Nyanza also who feel that without Raila on the ballot, their chances of being elected may be less. But that is a misreading. If Raila throws his weight behind Kalonzo Musyoka, and they are with Kalonzo Musyoka, they will still be elected to their positions. It does not change anything. But I think...
doesn't it? Because there have already been, you know, some split interests as well. From on one hand, you also remember have Martha Karua, who was the running mate, you know, in the last election, who also has interests in that position and is a co-principal in Azimio coalition as well.
Yeah, that is correct, but I think the Kenyans, we need to reach a level where we realize that not everyone is going to be the candidate. So, of course, I would like to see competition within Azimio, who they need to back, so that everybody has a good chance. Because Azimio has serious luminaries, serious people like the governor. I mean, the former governor of Kakamega, I find him extremely sober person. Wamalo, you know, Mother, So there's a Governor Muranga. I think that is somebody to watch within the central Kenya region and Mandagaru. But I don't think really that anyone within Azimio is taking, thinking that the endorsement removes them from the race. It doesn't. The endorsement is a very normal thing in politics, and it does not impede anybody else from declaring their candidature, and they start organizing for it. All I'm saying is that the way Raila talked, that is where his mind is. He was genuine, he was sincere, what he was saying reflected. You could see that he owns the ones. As they were coming out of him, he owns them. So that way, yes. And I can tell you for free, if Raila Drozi is waiting behind anybody in Azimio, that person will be a competitive person, especially if we walk the road we are walking, because it appears to me that we may very well reach 2027 with a turned economy, because usually government fix economies in the first year. When they fail in the first year, you see government works for 3 years. So the first year is always crucial, because the fourth year and the fifth is election time. So the first year is absolutely crucial. If you look at the presidents who inherited non-challenging economies, they did it in the first year. Okay, from Mwai Kibaki to Ishelema in Zambia, to Sakwera in Malawi, to Barack Obama, to Bill Clinton, to Margaret Thatcher, to Tony Blair, they all succeeded in the first year. When you fail in the first year, you fail throughout your term, usually, because in bringing the confidence to people, because you know, when we say a government succeed, it's people who have succeeded individually in different economic sectors. You have made your policies, and the policies have inspired the population to do things for themselves because they know you are acting in their interest as a policy maker. So now convincing people after many steps in the first year becomes a difficulty. Even when you have a good policy, they don't trust you. It becomes a problem.
Right.
So predicting that, Azimio should be able to organize and figure out which one of their candidates can deliver victory for Kenya.
Would it be too early to have that conversation?
No, it's not too early. That's the point. Ruto campaigned for 6 years. That's why he is where he is now. I mean, he started campaigning even before the election. The election. So it's not early. The early is a misconception. It's better to start it. Now, if they split, let the split come and deal with it politically. In fact, you have people can split and zero come back to you when they find they are not making it anyway. So I think they need to start early. It will be clever for them to declare their candidate now.
All right. You agree?
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. You remember Oka came in to force last election. And some of us said it is very difficult for them to go solo like that, knowing what we have. Then later on, Gideon Moi joined, Uhuru team, and then these other guys, Kalonzo joined. Remember, Raila Odinga was invited in Wiper NDC. So I think it should come from Kalonzo Musyoka. Now that Raila has given his indication, the first people you should meet is the governors. Most probably some of them are not going to come back, most of them. It has been proven in the last elections. There were only very few who came back, less than half. So most MCS from northern Kenya or the country haven't come back that much, so it's only 5 or 6 who come back. So he needs now to start having grassroots discussions so that his seriousness is seen. As he said, Kenyans are getting tired of young people below 50. People in their 50s. Because Ruto and Raila were elected, they were both less than 60, and people thought we needed to have, they delivered. The last 10 years was a mess. The last 10 years was a mess. Their ambition overtook the interest of the country. Right now, the interest rates are very high. The inflation is at 150 something right now. Fuel and energy is in crisis in this country. Government expenditure is just bloated. They have spent 20 billion as reported by the controller of budget on foreign expense. So right now, majority of Kenyans will look at, from the experience, they might say, because of the sobriety, we might give him a chance. And he has been in the system for a while. But it is for him to start traveling around the country talking to people. Even he has a very good platform right now. He's already a co-chair. He can talk to parliamentarians, he can talk to the Senate. And remember, in the government, when you're building a government, coming to the story of Mother Karua as a running mate, or everyone cannot be a president, we said in the last general election, there are positions in this country that are very lucrative. Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Treasury, foreign, speakers of Senate. There are a lot of positions that are quite very lucrative in the country that most of these guys sometimes jostle for. So I think when we came to power, I will give you, Professor, when we came to power, we said Musalia Mudavadi might end up as a cabinet secretary or something. He ended up as a prime cabinet secretary, but right now he has been given a foreign ministry. And the kind of sobriety we will need in this country in future is that of Musalia Mudavadi, is that of sometimes being so much aggressive spoils a lot of things, because your ego coupled with money, coupled with power, makes you, it overshadows some things you are supposed to listen to. Because the essence of having think tank, that's why David Ndii was employed and given over 200 million budget, so that he thinks about how he can. But from his tweets, he's not a man in at ease. He's like, this guy is just telling, because if, as a journalist you read what's beneath that tweet. It's like there is nobody to advise here.
He has been very open. He said that the best doctors in Ava and lose the patient,
sometimes even
meaning that he has lost the patient.
His thing. He's like, I'm being paid, and even told us that I cannot, oversight myself because I'm already being paid and I have a budget. So I have to have other people. So he's telling Kenyans, all right, EACC or these other must work. So what we're saying is Kenyans will be suffering, because remember, there are people who die in this country without achieving their dreams. If you, last night and yesterday I was going through Eastleigh and town. Right. There are Kenyans who sleep when it's raining along Nairobi River, along the corridors, along everywhere. Yet, that is the same Kenyans who are supposed to be protected. If there was good governance, then those people would have been taken to an orphanage center or an NYS camp and then rehabilitated. So there are Kenyans who are suffering being Kenyans, and there are Kenyans who are living in opulence because they are stealing. Okay, let me get in here. The importance of declaring early candidate is for the country to begin seeing you as the alternative. Yes. Okay, so they can start seeing you as the alternative. So Azimio need to declare their candidate early, so we begin seeing the alternative, because sometimes their statement, for example, right now, Kalonzo would like to issue concerning the economy or this. First, he has to refer now to the team, but if he is already marked as the alternative, then he will lead the people, in the people's mind, they will start, the way they were seeing Ruto as alternative to Uhuru Kenyatta. Because they started seeing Ruto for a long time, they called him Tanga-Tanga, but people knew that you are Tanga-Tangaring him because he had the alternative. So Azimio need to mark the alternative now, so that in the people's consciousness, they start saying the alternative to the UDA government. Oparanya and Kalonzo Musyoka can make a good run.
Or even the other, that one can make a fantastic run. Even the, what is the name, the Wamalo.
I will prefer Oparanya to be the deputy, because he has been 10 years as a governor, even though the other guy was also a cabinet secretary. But let's have people above 60 this time. And say, we are tired with the guys below 50.
Is it really about the age? But look at it this way as well, right?
It's not
because all this thing is hinged on the issue of the economy, mostly, because Kenyans want
the demeanor and the sobriety of the leadership.
There is also some other subterranean issues, culture comes,
We can't ignore the factors that already play.
Yes.
Its own, space.
You can't blame
in having. But let me ask you this, gentlemen, before we take a break. So tomorrow we're celebrating 60th Mashujaa Day celebrations in this country, and looking at the Kenya that we have now, and the Kenya that we fought for back then, in terms of the economic context, where are we?
I think we are very far. We have not actualized the aspirations of the freedom fighters. because we became very mean. I mean, my friend, my colleague here, my panelist, he said lucrative positions. You see, what has killed this country is to go into government for the purposes of making money but not serving the public. Those people who sacrificed their lives and they went to the forest to deliver independence, they wanted to serve Kenyans, not to serve themselves. So the greed that we have, the fact that we refused to vacate the mentality of the colonial state of exploitation, exploiting the Kenyans. We continue the 60 years of exploiting Kenyans because you see, our government mindset, the consciousness of the government is still exploitative, the way it was during the colonial days. So we have not moved away from that mode to delivery, to everybody going to the government is how much money they are going to make, not what the legacy they are going to leave as servants of the people. So we have not reached there, and it's unfortunate, because if that does not change, and you can see it change briefly under Kibaki. When you look at this country, the people who have made money, okay? We don't have Berongets here. They either worked with the government or trended with the government. And that's why the economy does not move, because it does not create new value. So I would say that unfortunately, 60 years of independence, we have not moved an inch because of the policy of aggrandizement. Instead of aggrandizement and the self-service by the leaders, we have been unable to produce selfless leaders. We have produced transactional leaders over and over again, except Mwai Kibaki. We have not been able to produce transformational leaders because the transformational leader will look at the next generation. A transactional leader is what am I getting now? So they are concerned with the next election. And this is why we are talking about the money ruling the elections. These are so until this country produces a transformational leader, which Kibaki came very, very close to being one. Because if you look at his vision in 2030, was supposed to outlive him. Of course, it was abandoned by Uhuru Kenyatta, and now it's not relevant in decisions being made, but at least he was able to think about a policy document that would outlive his presidency. That is transformative. That is what we are lacking. We are transactional, and what I should look for the next election is whether the leader in coming, the competition, there is somebody with the transformative ideas that are likely to outlive that presidency.
All right. And Abdullah, I know you want to add on to that. Please just hold on to that thought. We'll have to take a quick break here on AM Live. When we come back, we'll look at that Mashujaa Day celebrations, 20th of October every year. Tomorrow, that's the 60th of these celebrations. Where are we? Have we achieved what we needed to achieve, what we fought for as a country? We'll come back to that in a moment. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to the program. You are watching AM Live as we take a look at what's making headlines in the morning. And of course, the issue of leadership, touching on what we expect to, take place tomorrow, which is the 60th Mashujaa Day celebrations as well, reflecting on where we are right now. Is this the Kenya we did fight for? But also let me tie into this particular issue on the 8th page of the Daily Nation. Of course, DCI probing Mavoko land grab syndicate. We've seen the Mavoko Member of Parliament, Patrick Makau, yesterday quizzed by police in relation to the grabbed East African Portland Cement Company property in his constituency, as tens of people obeyed summons to answer questions about this particular piece of land. And of course, it has opened a Pandora's box on that particular matter. Now we have families, no homes, properties destroyed. We've seen churches gone down. And of course, now Kenyans are really, reeling in pain, because who is to blame? They say they legitimately bought this piece of land, you know, from officials that, you know, gave them the allotment letters. But then now things are going in a very difficult position.
Yeah, let me first finish my thoughts on Kenya at 60 tomorrow.
Yes.
We have said and agreed that Kenya has changed, yes. But for whom? For the simple majority. Kenyans who have been working hard have not been getting value for their money, because the leaders we have then, because if you look at the people we have now, most of them were around during Kenyatta. So they were around during Kenyatta 1, Moi, Kibaki, Uhuru, Ruto, and they're still government, because Musalia Mudavadi is son of a cabinet minister. Eugene Maolma is a brother to very senior people in this government. Moses Kuria was there for some time. Deputy President was there during Kenyatta's time, and he was a DU under Moi, and you know, all these things. So, as I said before in other platforms, there was a system that was created in 1960. After 63, we got independence. Look at, you know, most Mudaiga, look at Karen, look at Keleleshwa, look at Runda. I've said before, we went to Runda and a plot is like 60 million, 1 acre. So if a person has 10, that's 600 million. And that guy is the son of a cabinet minister during Kenyatta 1's time. So, and look at Kibra, look at Madare, look at all these places. So we had 2 sets of Kenyans from 1963. When you develop a policy, what is a policy? A policy is identification of a problem and how to resolve it, or an issue. Then from there you develop the mechanisms that it requires so that this policy can be implemented. When we got independence, the Kenyatta 1 team then did not sit, because look at the people we created. The Koinanges, the Mbiyus, the Biwots, the former CJ, you know, Attorney General, who was having even suits that are branded with his name. We created a few cliques of elites, just like in other parts, because when you choose the elite model and not the institutional model, this is what you have. Now, this country, if you go to the north, more than 22 counties. Some counties up to today have no tarmac roads. In the villages, you might find that there are no even water. There are places in this country where there are no schools. So, did we achieve independence? Yeah, the flag is flying very well within there. But is independence about a flag? You know, or about having, what is the essence of government? The essence of government is to govern people so that it creates an environment where people can thrive.
So you're saying the governments have failed the people?
Kibaki tried for us. That's why he's always mentioned by everyone. He came with a model. Yeah, when he came, and I think it's because, 1, he studied economics, 2, he was a Sabah guy, 3, he lived within Kenya. He was there with Kenyatta, he was there with Moi, one time a vice president, one time a, you know, a finance minister, and he had a dream for the country. Yet, when he prepared the base for economical transformation, the dollar was at 79 then. Even though there are other factors, what we did from 1960 is we did not eradicate issues of hunger, and we did not resolve the issues of energy. 2 key components in terms of economy. Now, that has been coupled with the modern, you know, problems. We had droughts, we had, you know, bad governance, we had all these. So, Kenya is a stable country, but very, very fragile communities. Kenyans are hungry. There are people who cannot eat today. That's a shame. Because you say you're going to celebrate.
But who's to blame? I mean, is
the leaders?
The question you
the
have
leaders,
asked is a good
the
one.
political leaders. We have been working hard, yes, but as we were discussing, we were up to now we are servicing them, because if the current government is using 85% on salary, how many people work for Kenyans? 3 million? 2 million? What about the other 20 or 30 who are below the bar?
All right.
What about the people who have not gone to school? How many of them can, you know, so there are a lot of things. It will only come when the popular or the polity or the population of this country, the citizens, from Mandera to Mombasa, Busia to Banisa, Namanga to everywhere in this country, Kenyans say it does not matter who becomes the president, but we need someone who is sober to listen to our problems, who is not going to steal from us. Until then, when it comes to leadership,
Okay.
Today, the Kalenjins are suffering like me, like Merus, like Kikuyus. When problems comes, problems don't have certain ethnic groups. We all, the prices, like now, it does not mean that the central Kenya, because the deputy president and the Kalenjins have a president, the prices in the petrol station at Eldoret is cheaper. For them, it doesn't. It's still 211, 213 like any other person. There is need to develop a commonality among Kenyans that we are all the same. This is our government. We need people who will have financial discipline to safeguard our economy so that we all enjoy service of government.
Yes, you asked to blame, I think, the subsequent government.
Because you have external factors as well, remember, right?
No, the external factors won't have much.
Kibaki had external factors.
Yes, the external factors will not have an impact when there is good leadership. You know, you ask very good questions. Take Mavoko, for example. These people bought those pieces of land. Whether they were cheated is irrelevant, because Tumbirundi, you need the authority of the government, Tumbirundi. And then the schools came. Who was building those schools? Then there were churches and mosques. Where was the government when all that is done? So after people have settled, okay, whether they were found is completely irrelevant. And then the government comes in and says, now this land belongs to someone else. We need to demolish. Why I'm using this example? Because you see, the moment the state ceases to feel the pain of its citizens, then it is no longer serving those citizens. Yeah. Because they say the moment we as people, the moment we fail to feel the pain of another person, then we are less human. We have lost our humanity. So you have a government from conception which followed strictly the footsteps of the colonial state. So the government lost direction from the beginning. This is why the Ruto campaign was such a magnet to people, because he campaigned as if it would be a departure from the exploitative state that we are used. Remember when he came with the Azula, people felt, look, we have a savior. In fact, I've seen one of the Mavoko residents saying that I thought he was sent by God to save me. Now look what he has done to me. So the way he had campaigned, he became our knight in shining armor. He became our liberator. It's just that when he went now and became the state consciousness, the exploitative consciousness took over once more. Because this is simply how the Kenyan government was set. It was never set as a people's government. And so, because there has never been set as people's government, the president, I think once he went in, he was overwhelmed, because the idea that he was systematically lying, I don't know about that. Because I feel that he actually believed in the things he was saying, that he would do, that he would do to the Azola, that he would finish 60 years of domination by the dynasties. So when he went in, nobody can tell what has happened. What has happened is the exploitative consciousness of the Kenyan state took over. And now this is it is running. So I don't see Kenyans getting out of this mood until we can produce a Mangufuli or even a Paul Kagame. Because the idea here is not even democracy. It's just a leader who is not selfish, who is not leading for himself, somebody we can trust, and then we will work. Because as it is right now, is the disappointment is too big to fix the economy. Economy is fixed by general hope of the population for a better tomorrow. So when the population is depressed like it is right now, it's very hard to adjust the economy. It becomes very difficult. And I think the advisors around the president, they are not helping him, because they are probably painting a very good picture. Because otherwise, I'm very sure he will stay in the office and work. You see, when the president leaves State House and he goes to somewhere to issue title deeds, that's the job of the land clerks. Because the president living in State House, that's 100 million shillings down. 100 million shillings, what he can do in the villages in dispensary, buy medicine for those in dispensaries, employ doctors in those in dispensaries. So unless you are the president and his cabinet start thinking in terms of cost and benefit, I think it will continue being interesting for us 60 years after after the flag, like
so
my
then,
friend
Prof, you can't blame the leaders who are there now. I mean, then this means it's a systemic issue.
Remember,
it's already something that, you know, is already entrenched.
Remember, I did not blame the ones who are there. I blamed, you see, there is something called the collective consciousness of our country. Collective consciousness is the unseen governor, which governs the state. And we say that collective consciousness, the government is an innocent mirror of that consciousness. It just reflects us. What happened after independence is we developed a collective consciousness, especially the state, developed a consciousness of exploiting its own citizens. And that makes it systematic. That makes it create a culture, an exploitative culture. So the only way you can do it to dismantle that culture, now the only person who can dismantle that culture is the president. Okay. You see, if you look at that culture, is every minister is like now has been allocated an helicopter. So even going to Kiambu or Naivasha, they can't drive, they must go in an helicopter. You need somebody who can come and say, wait a minute, like Ishelema was saying, that 180,000 to 80,000 per hour, that money, how many medicine, how much medicine you can see, how many beds can it buy in a dispensary. So when you start calculating that, you tell them, look, if you are going to somewhere, please go one day in advance, plan, because we need this money to hire doctors. We need this money to pay school fees. The Ishelema, when he entered the office, he was given a voucher of $1.8 million for his cars in his office. So he asked them question, if you have seen that clip, he asked them, the former president, did he have cars? Yes. Are they moving? Yes. So he told them, I will use them. So he cancelled that thing they were supposed to buy. So when you come with that kind of idea that you need to save the public resources so that they can be deployed where they will have an impact in poverty alleviation, an impact because it's not enough to have an hospital. An hospital needs a doctor and needs drugs. When somebody comes with that policy, the country's consciousness shift and they support that Linda.
All right. We have seen that shift because we've seen the president himself make statements, especially when it comes to the issue of, you know, spending as well from the government side.
Well, I think first of all, right? the president can only lead from the front if he's not doing business with us. The failure of Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto is they're doing business with us.
Uhuru Kenyatta's time is already...
It doesn't matter. He will still be blamed for what's happening. We are still talking about his dad. Yeah, so a government is a continuation process. You start from here. That's why the Port of Lamu was open now, but it was started in 1974. So there are two things you can't do. And I always said this to Kenyans. You cannot put me in an office to do business with you, or I have to serve you. I have to do one. Because the amount of resources given to the country is already budgeted for certain, you know, activities in the country, where it's paying debt or services for certain. And then, if you now talk to people around this government, you will be told we are doing business. We are recovering the money we paid during the election. Now, that is evident from the way the economy is being handled. Because if President Ruto came to office and studied the economy for 1 year, we will not have all this crisis. If we survived 5 years under Uhuru Kenyatta with the same policies, we could still survive 1 year with it. Because you already did for 5 years.
Yeah, exactly.
We could still do for 1 year. When it comes for 1 year is that, now, President Ruto cannot bring us out of this quagmire if he is interested in doing business with government. What do I mean? If he's interested in contracts given on his behalf, if he's interested in doing projects on his behalf, of having the mind of making profit, that kind of mentality will, because right now, why do you need to talk about...
But where do you get that assumption?
I am getting it from, why is the economy not performing? Where is the money going?
Exactly.
Yeah, if I give you a bill of 100,000 and the kids are only taking uji every morning, we have to ask ourselves, where does the money go? You know, the economy functions with certain principles. You produce food, yes. Who are you producing for? For Kenya. How are you producing? For the farmers. They don't just, I did farming in Mandera. You don't only need fertilizers. In fact, in Mandera, we were using manure from cow dungs and goats and camel and donkeys. So what you need to say is this. Is there financial prudence in this country? Are we disciplined from the cleaner to the bus driver to the cars. If you talk to the drivers of government, spare parts are being taken to garages and sold at a cheaper price, yet the guys in the office, because he's too busy getting a lot of money, he's not even asking. Well, a tire can stay for like a year if he's not driving that much in the field. So what we're saying is this: if the president is doing business with Kenyans, if the cabinet ministers want to build a house in Karen and Muthaiga and Runda in 1 year, this economy cannot improve, because that is the same money we were supposed to use either buying drugs in Turkana or sending county money, and we are just going to pay salaries, what we call servicing the government. We are just paying salaries to the people.
I'll tell you how you know that something is not right. When the government, for example, says that this parastatal will be sold, and within those parastatals, you see Telecom Kenya, you see Kenya Pipeline, you see ports, then you know something is terribly wrong here.
And the issue of the privatization of the loss-making entities?
No, that's one policy now. But when you see the thing they want to sell, then you see something is terribly wrong. Because an organization like Kenya Pipeline, Telecom Kenya, the port, these have serious national security implications. So you can't even talk about selling these organizations. But yet, we have put them, they said they will put them for sale. Then you realize people around the president, there is something wrong here. There is absolutely something wrong. The other thing is, you put this for sale, whatever it is. We also have an opposition, but nobody says, look, you must give Kenyans the first right of rejection because they own these assets. In other words, you cannot have a foreign entity buying any government asset without the first offering it to the Kenyans, and then they are not able to buy. Okay? So, you don't hear that from the opposition. You hear the government putting up for sale some organization with the serious national security implications, then you realize something is terribly, terribly wrong.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying the government cannot do business with its people and expect to perform. You can't. Because when you're told that you're buying a car of 50 million for the deputy president, or 40 million, or 30 million, why do you need that? Why do you need a car of 50? Where is the cars that Ruto was using? Where is the cars that the deputy president was using? I mean, if I become a governor or a deputy governor today, I will ask first, where are the cars used by the former deputy? Are they functioning? I take them to garage, fix them, and bring them. So that you cut costs. The essence of government is when you have lean government, which this government does not have, when you're spending 80% on salaries, which this government is doing, when corruption is very rife as it is right now, then you will be told you cannot perform on the economy.
And this is the same problems that previous administrations have had to face. And so when you have an administration who's come into a force right now with, allegations that things are not good economically, that, Treasury was, like, there was no money. There's literally no money in their
That's what they told us.
Right?
That's what they told you.
That's what they told us.
Is really true?
Is it true?
Is it true? Because what happened to the money Uhuru was collecting, and if he took it, why can't they just go and bring it?
The issue of Mavoko.
So that is not correct.
I want to say this. Now, that land, as Prof was saying, it was sold to people, they built all those things, didn't it? If I was part of the people leading that team, will tell first, before we demolish anything, let us first know who are the culprits. First thing first, who sold to them, who took the money, who are these. When you put the people who do the wrongs and you have faces, then from there you instigate investigation, you send parliamentary committees. After that, you make a decision on what do we do with these people.
Well, you already have that. You already have the DCI looking into the matter.
After. No.
What he's saying, he says first, you are human.
These are Kenyans.
These are Kenyans and you are human.
So if you're telling me the title deeds are issued by the Ministry of Lands,
that they issued those title deeds.
You don't buy them from even though they have fake title deeds.
No, they are not fake. Those ones were issued.
Not those ones. There are people in lands who even steal fines. I have friends who are doing real estate and selling plots in Nairobi. The kind of do you know people have stopped buying land in Nairobi now? Because you'll be told the serial number in the title deed, they will only change one number. then you find that you have a title deed that's fake. So what you do, if those people have bought the land and they paid money, it's the issue of now Shakahola. Where was the government? It was complacent.
Do you think this whole issue is going to be
I think you have lost the
politicized?
track.
Because
You have lost the track. What he was saying, and I really got it, is this, yeah? This is the government, okay? All those buildings were within government approval. So the government went to sleep because it should have stopped them the time they were buying. The government should have known. But then every one of those people have actually a title from this East Africa
I believe they
Portland.
had allotment,
Now,
allotment
because
letters.
East Africa Portland, mind you, is one of the parastatals for sale. So it's very easy for me when I look at it to think that they want to clear these guys out of 70 billion land so that they can sell the parastate. Because what they should have done was what he said, do all this investigation and then look, is it possible to hive this occupied area by these people and allow them now to pay the Portland appropriate price? Because that way, you know, when they were trying to bring down Ruto's hotel, the Western, I opposed it. I said that would be undermining national asset building because it's a national property. The thing is, ask him to pay the correct price so that the hotel can continue serving the people of Kenya. It's generating jobs. People are paying taxes. So the same way, the government has a policy of housing to house these people. So instead of sending them to the streets, hive that area belonging to the company, tell them to pay the current prices. When they fail, maybe then you can demolish. But you cannot move in.
No, what I was saying is this. First of all, identify people who are culpable of committing that crime from government.
And that's why I was asking.
Yeah, because criminal activity have no expiry dates. If you commit a crime...
Do we see a situation where this whole issue is going to be politicized? Because look, in the midst of all these things, we already have politicians coming out to say, now we know who the big fish are. Let's look at, you know, the governor, that is Wavinya Ndeti. Let's look at Kalonzo Musyoka. They should be able to give us answers as to issues of land allocation within that particular area.
Those
so
are
do you think this is going to sort of muddy the investigations that is already happening?
You are right.
That's the political angle.
Just 1 minute. I think you are right on this because if I mean you can go further. Machakos government right now should be claiming that entire land because you see the East African Portland didn't drop from sky with that land. That is, when you look at the act, the Land Act, there is something defined as community land, and there is private land. If the East African, wherever it is, the Portland acquired that land some time back, this land should revert to the county of Machakos so that they can figure out what to do with it. So that will come. I can see people moving to court and the Machakos county claiming that land eventually. So the politics is going to come in.
The courts will take some time. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is before even you demolish, you find out who gave out title deeds, who gave out the authorization of buildings. The Ministry of Education gave out, yes, all these things. Then from there now, if these people are in office, they become culpable. They are suspended for 6 months, half pay, until investigations are done. Then from there now, we say these are Kenyans. Okay? Can we negotiate on how they can stay here and then they pay more?
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of now they're going to sue the government. They're going to be paid later on. They're going to sue the government for doing that. Because when you
That's what you foresee?
Of course, there was a court order, isn't it? Were they even given time to appeal?
They were not.
They were not. When you're given a court order, there is 14 days, I think.
No, 21.
21 days for you. The court order must wait for 21 days so that you launch an appeal. Then it takes another time in the court of appeal. If they are not satisfied, then they will exhaust all the remedies within the law. But what does that tell you about the governance system of this country? It's still controlled by the elites. Someone somewhere will decide. Police, wherever you saw how the police officer was talking to the Raila Odinga and the team. For them to visit, he's denying them. I mean, he will have told them, 4 of you can go see and come back, but I'm not going to allow a flood of crowd people. 1, 2, the former prime minister, the governor, Sifuna, who is a senator of Nairobi, all these people can go. About 5 of them. You 5 can go see and then come back. Then give them security. Like 10 people, tell them. They talk to the people and they come back. They should be law and order. I agree with that. But now when you tell her, we are going to finish this thing in the next 4, you are a public servant. You make rationale of the condition at that time. If there was skirmishes there and then Raila would have been injured or someone else would have been injured. You see, you anticipate most of these things. So, as a country, there is rife for impunity in this country. Cases, land, people are losing land, especially innocent people are losing land in this country because of shoddy deals at Ministry of Lands. It is one of the most corrupt ministries you can have in this country. I deal with friends who deal with them. They go to places and get money to even service. I have lawyers who deal with them. I have friends who are buying land in Nairobi. I have friends, they're even approving lands that have no parking. How do you approve a building of 40 houses or 50 houses? There is no playground. There are people who are going to live in that house.
So you know these people, Abdullahi?
I don't know them, but I deal with people who know them.
Okay.
Yeah, who go to the Ministry of Land.
Go to this year and give out some information,
it's not that.
Right?
I mean, if there was allegation of the vice president, deputy president grabbing land in Langata and building that thing, it's something that comes from the top. There is nothing you can fight in this country because it's almost everyone who is grabbing everything.
So we are a banana republic.
So this country, we will keep on complaining like this, and I said this in Spice. We will have these discussions every day. Unless the society makes a decision, not the polity or the popular. Central Kenya, there are 8 regions. The 8 regions will say, we want a country that is going to be governed in a very better way. Which way? We elect leaders based on visions and transformative agendas and honesty. They are honest. Kenya, Baraga was one of them. When he lifted the Bible and told Kenyans, I have never been bribed, no one could come forward and say, I gave him this or this or that. In the parliamentary session, Senate we had the other day, a former member of parliament said, I gave you money, 2 billion, this is you 200 billion. That is the state of the politics we have. In the Senate, someone can tell a senator or a lawyer sitting there on better, I gave you this amount of money on camera. So that is the governance you have.
All right.
So unless we all decide to change, we will be talking about a police officer taking 50 bob. Yeah, the guys at the top there are taking millions and billions.
So the police taking a 50 bob is not corruption.
It is not.
You know, there is some things you need to understand. There is something in economics we call facilitation of commerce. When you go, you meet a police on the road, and you obviously overspeeding, and you give him 100 shillings, and he does not give you a ticket. This is what this policing guy has done. He just facilitated you to go and do your business, and you go to the nearest kiosk and take tea without 100 shillings. So that is a facilitation of commerce. The corruption is the one taking in billions and putting us down, all of us down.
Right.
I don't think the police will do corruption in this country, if you're asking me, because there is a different.
All right. Thanks, Prof. Professor Gitile Naituli, governance analyst, also academic. Abdullahi Alas, policy and governance analyst as well. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. We did have Javas Bigambo as earlier promised, but this is where we wind up on our conversation this morning. Thank you so much for coming in and, of course, making the time for us on AM Live this morning. I can see a lot of comments here on social media. Let's continue engaging. The hashtag, as always, is AM Live and TV. As always, I'll leave you with what we have today on the papers. That's the cartoon that we have here on the Daily Nation. It's all about the Meru Governor, Kawira Mwangaza. She's ordering for more candles. Well, the electricity or the light seems to have gone a little bit down there, but yeah, she's still trying to make sure that there's Mwangaza there. All right, my name is Zainab Ismail. Winnie Lubembe is coming up shortly with Your World. Good morning.